Hello everyone and welcome. Today we're going to have a look at a couple of T10 Katanas from Jkoo. And this will be a bit of a demonstration of what happens sometimes when you receive a katana that isn't quite up to spec. This one was actually the first Shinken that I got with a view to use it at a cutting seminar that I was holding with the dojo that I train at. And when I got this, it had a slight bend, about 10 degrees flex to the left-hand side as you were holding it. And there was a couple other things going on with it. It was advertised with Hishigami, didn't have any. And the habaki as well wasn't sitting flush with the moon or the back of the blade, which made sheathing this one quite tricky and started to actually gouge out the koiguchi there. So what I actually did was write away to Jkoo, and I included pictures, and I was very polite and just pointed out the different things that were happening with this blade. And that it wasn't quite up to spec. I didn't prompt it, but they had no qualms in, once I sent the pictures through and explained what was wrong, they had no qualms in reforging the sword for me. And this is the one that I got sent out in replacement of this. So if anything, this is a story of righting a wrong, of customer satisfaction, and this is one of the things that Jkoo are more willing to do, I found, than other sword forgers. The reviews that you sort of hear about Jkoo online can be, you can give you the impression that they're a little bit hit and miss. But on the other end of that, their customer service and communication is right up there. Every time that I have written away, asking for information or different things like that, it's been pretty much the next day that I've had a reply with the information that I needed. So on that part, they are great. It's just unfortunate that at times there appears to be a few little mistakes that creep through the process, the forging process, the finishing process of what customers are expecting or wanting. And from what I can sort of gather, there's a fair bit of correcting at times that has to go on. But in no way am I trying to beat up on Jkoo. I think they're a good company. I think, like most Chinese-based forgers, you need to be very, very specific about what you want, what it's going to be used for, even down to the style of blade, all the little bits and pieces that you may sort of take for granted when you're dealing with any forge. I think it's personally a very good idea to just have a look at detail at what you actually want, what you're after, and is that product going to fill your needs, even to the point of getting the forgers to send you photos of the completed blade before it's shipped. Because a lot of times once it's shipped, once it's in country, it can't be returned, and that can lead to quite a few other little problems that can really lessen the experience of buying these things online. So this one, or both of these I sort of previewed in the previous video that I did, which was this 3.5 wide Jkoo, T10 as well. So getting onto the first one that I ordered, I wanted basically a light katana, a cricket katana that was good at cutting, and T10 steel. I do rate their steel from Jkoo, the T10 there. And they have a few different outlets. They are on Facebook and a few other things as well. So if you want to have a look at pictures and different things they've got going on, go onto any of those platforms. There's actually plenty on YouTube as well. But getting back to this was the original one that I ordered. And it has a beautiful distal taper. It's actually quite light, quite nimble, and I actually do like it. When I first got it, it had this bend just off to this side. And as I mentioned, the habaki was not flush there at the back of the blade, and it still has a little bit of ridging, but I've managed to get it most of the way flush. But to really solve that problem, I would probably have to get another habaki that is more tailored to this blade shape. The other big thing I had, the other big problem was the lack of Hishigami. Although this was quite tight, it was quite good when I first got it, it didn't take long before it started to develop quite a lot of play. And you can see there's quite a bit of movement on both sides through the wrap. I don't think it's going to come out or come undone anytime soon. The Kashira and the end nut there is still quite tight, and the rest of the handle feels quite good at there, but you do feel that movement as you're using it now. So this one is not far off from me breaking the handle down, redoing the handle, and getting some of these scratches out that are now present in the blade, because I've used this one quite heavy, and I can't complain about the use of this one. It cuts everything I've pointed it at quite well. It was just that initial, when I received it, it was below par for what I expected. But as soon as I mentioned, like I said, that it wasn't up to scratch, and they sort of asked me a little bit, what do you want it for? And I gave them all the details. Look, this is for a cutting seminar. We'll be cutting single and double tatami. And what they did was give me a blade that was certainly more geared towards that, a little bit more solid, only a little bit heavier than this first one, which is negligible in its use. I still find this one quite enjoyable, quite direct to use. It's quite a good little blade, this one, as a replacement. So no qualms there. I basically got a 2-for-1 deal. It's just unfortunate that the first product that I got just didn't have what was advertised, and the fit and finish just wasn't there. On this one, very similar dimensions. This one has a bit thicker moon in it, and The blade itself again is still T10 with that Sugahara Hamon line running down it. Same Suba, except this one is on the other way, so at least you know the universal, they can go on either way. But again, the handle and the wrapping, that is Hishigami, and it's chalk and cheese contrast. This is a very tight wrap, and it's nicely finished, and it doesn't feel clunky. It actually has a nice width and feel to it, and I have no trouble indexing this one at all. So this is the blade reforged, and we'll go over this a bit more for when we get into deeper into the review. But all of the replacement, all the work sort of went into the blade, the fittings, and I just got the impression that the saya was not exactly what you would call fully worked or high quality. They seem to have a lot of saya blanks, and they just sort of finish them or fit them to the blade to suit. That's just my opinion, but it still does the job. It's a completely different finish on the Korishime to the other two I have, but again, it's solid, it works. Doesn't have reinforcement, but it does well for storing the sword and working out different katas and techniques. It's still quite functional and fits in quite well. So that's just a little bit of a preamble onto how these two came about. And now moving to the review, we will directly compare them and just point out some different things on what was wrong with the initial one and what they did to actually rectify that for me. So stick around, guys. I hope you find this interesting, and let's get into the Jkoo brothers original and reforged sword, T10 steels. So moving on to the original purchase, that was on the 19th of May 24, so it's been some time now, but all up to my door, 256 Australian dollars. It was on sale for $199 US, and unfortunately when I got it I started to discover all these little problems. As you can see here as the pictures scroll through. Now what I did do was just write a letter back to the forge, and firstly I just outlined, I'm a practitioner, and I actually mentioned the things I did like about what I'd received, and that was that the balance felt quite good. It was very light and nimble, the fittings seemed to fit well, the bohie was quite nice, and then went through all the things that you could see here, and how I tried to display, which isn't easy, the bending of a blade and all those little things that you complain about. Sometimes it's a bit hard to capture in photos, but I did my best, put it all together and sent it off, and basically I got a reply: sorry for these problems, this katana has been in stock for a long time, sorry I didn't check it well before shipping, we will remake this katana for you. And as a result, they asked for a few more little photos, which I supplied, and they were able to come to the party and reforge this one in the likeness of the one with the black Ito wrap, the reforged one, and we'll go into a bit more detail as to the differences and how they went about it. So an important point to remember as we're looking at the original one here is this one is just under a year and a half I've had this one, and it has been used very heavily, very frequently. So although I'm pointing out a lot of things about this that were wrong, I think this is actually a very good point towards how durable the T10 steel from Jkoo is. I do rate this because of just how much I've thrown at it, and it's still functional. I can still use it, even though the Ito, as you can see here, where your hands tend to grip onto the handle is where it's more or less started to come loose there. But the Semigawa is a nice quality. Most of the swords from Jkoo are actually double pegged with the Makugi pegs. The Fuchi is a little bit of a mismatch to the Kashira, but the Korishime Seiya is actually quite a nice grain, and the Seigo is quite thick and quite nice. As a comparison, this is the Hishigami wrapped handle of the new one. Interesting point, these fittings didn't have any rust resistance on them, and you can see there just some patinaing where I've had my hand for gripping. No worry, I just sort of hit it with a bit of oil and keep that in check. But again, the wrapping here, chalk and cheese, nice Hishigami, nice Semigawa, double pegged, very tight. What a handle should be. It's very nice actually, and a very good replacement. Same fittings as far as the Suba. You can just see there on the Fuchi there's a bit of a ridge that leads onto the Ito, which you can feel when you're using it. Very different grain pattern there on the Korishime, a very light feeling Seiya, but when it comes to this one, got a bit of a soft spot for it. And this is probably a big part of why. This is the one I actually took into the cutting seminar that we had for the dojo that I train at. I like to think my form has probably improved a little since then, but this is the original one, because the reforged one didn't quite get to me in time. So I did a bit of maintenance to it, got it straight. That was a single tatami mat, and this is a double tatami mat coming up. So this was a bit of a test. Yes, I was nervous. There's a few things here I have improved on, I think, since then. But again, for a light, fast-cutting katana, this just ate the tatami, despite some of my techniques being a little bit too close to the top there. You can see that once you get your alignment right, beautiful, no problem at all. And that is a katana that I think, if I can just have a look, the weight is 960 odd grams, so under a kilo, and I'm still able to swing it. Since then, a lot of work, backyard work, all sorts of materials. I've gone to town on it basically, and it's held up pretty well. Looking at the saya, this is the original saya with a weight of 244 grams, and it's held up pretty well. A few bumps and scratches from taking it in and out of the sword rack, but it has great retention, and it's doing its job. And if we move on to the reforged blade, very similar, slightly different patterning, but again, not high quality wood, not high quality finish, but it's a good house to keep the blades in. Moving on to the original T10 blade I have, you can see here just how much abuse I've given it, how many scratches and all that type of thing are in it. Nice single deep bow high, nice distal taper, but you can see the hum on there is pretty well non-existent at the moment until I get a chance to work on that blade. This is the remade one for me. Again, T10 with that nice little hum on line running down the distance of the blade. And again, a single deep bow high and kasaki there that has a slightly stronger dimension to it. It's actually quite a nice and well balanced blade. So now guys, let's get on to some weights and measures and have a look at them in the light of day. So looking at our well used original now, the suka or handle length is 26.5 centimeters. Not a bad wrap, just a pity it's a bit loose there, with a total blade length from the hibaki of 73 centimeters. The blade width is 3 centimeters at the hibaki and tapers down to 2.2 near the tip there. Has a sori or a curvature of 2 centimeters, and we are looking at a distal tapering of 6 millimeters at the hibaki and 3.5 down near the tip there. 9.68 kilogram, or grams I should say, for the total weight of the sword. So quite light. Just to put that into perspective, some Iaito, heavier Iaito are in and around that range, with the obvious difference here being that this is T10 and Cha. But having said that, I have used it in training for an hour, no problems. Just need to concentrate a lot more, but I've also used it for a lot of hours in the backyard. So I think something in this range, this weight, this sort of size is quite good for practicing and just getting that feel of what it's like with a real shinken or katana. And as we go forward and look at our replacement blade now, there's very negligible sort of differences, but I'll point them out as best I can. The Nagasa is 71 centimeters there, so a little bit of difference there, as you can see. The Suka is 27 centimeters, that's about a half centimeter difference or so. The blade width is 3.1 at the hibaki and 2.3 at the yokote, or down near the kasaki there. Very much sharper geometry on this one. The distal tapering is 6 mil and down to 3.5 there, and that single deep bow high on both these katanas, and the sori there 2 centimeters. Blade weight just over that kilo, and with the saya 1.3, so very similar. The Suba on both of them, obviously they're identical, 7.2 centimeters, so quite adequate. And again, just like the other one, with the minimal differences between the two of them, this one's just that little bit shorter but a bit sharper in its geometry. The point of balance I will put up for both of them in a moment, but this one here that I'm playing with at the moment is 13 centimeters, and the lighter katana has a balance point of 11.5. So the lighter katana is really quite nimble because of that backward point of balance, and a very thin sort of kasaki towards the end. But I can use both of these shinkens quite well, either in training or in the backyard. And despite what I've said about the sayers and them being not finished, they do give me the confidence I need to be able to use them in drawing and sheathing, and just taking that little bit easier to again get that feel of playing with a live blade basically. So I do like the replacement. It's a much sturdier blade. I haven't used it as much for cutting. The lighter one, the original one, is the one I've it's become the beater, it's become the tester. I've used it on wet cardboard, which I think is what actually gave it most of its scratches. And many other targets when I've been training up and just trying to find out how to get the edge alignment and the swing and all this type of thing. So it's been my go-to to take out all my training mistakes, so to speak, where this one I've just used on mainly tamashigiri and pool noobers and different things like that. So I do rate the steel, guys. It's a very nice geometry on the blade, as you see here. Very nice bohea. They both make a very nice tachikaze or whoosh as you swing it. And as I say, that this distribution of the steel through both those blades makes them quite usable. They're functional. Whether you're just doing kata and trying to get that feel, or you want to do some backyard cutting, or indeed take it to a cutting seminar, then these guys will do all that. So this is the original, and as you can see here, it's very light, very nimble, very easy to get the alignment. Does not take much at all to cut these things, whether it's pool noodles and you're practicing like this, or when you're moving on to the tatami mats. And we'll have a bit of that there, and I think I've actually got some slowed down footage of the original one that I'm handling here, that we'll just get in place now and show you what it's like with a lighter sort of sword against, I think it's a double tatami, and it'll just give you a better idea of how that blade is passing through the mat. I find it quite interesting actually, that a blade that's under a kilo, as long as you're very mindful of your edge alignment and swinging the blade, will do the job. But again, if you get it wrong, and anyone who's practiced tamashigiri will know this, that dull thud feeling you get, that resistance from the tatami if you haven't quite got things lined up. But all in all, I enjoy these sort of standard medium range katanas because they have a good balance. They are a good compromise between heavy and soft targets, and I really enjoy them. And as I just mentioned, this is the original light katana that I'm using at the cutting seminar at the dojo. And this would, I would say this is on the upper limit for a sword that's 968 odd grams. But as you can see, it goes really well. And I think here on this next cut, if you look close, you might actually see some blade flex. So T10 can forgive you. You can bend it back, but it doesn't have as much flex in it as what spring steel would. I think it's here, just looking closely, just up towards the tip. There you go, just that slight rigid wobble. But again, I love this. This really helped me out. And this is the other one that was remade. This is just in the backyard there, and as you can see, they're both quite good at cutting. They're not oversized. You don't have to overcompensate. They're not ultra light that you risk bending it or chipping the blade out every time you use it. They are rugged, they are differentially hardened, but they probably wouldn't be as robust as some of the other different steels out there, but as a useful, functional, exploratory sword from Jkoo, I rate it, guys. And especially at that price point. Remember, I got these for $260 odd to my door. Admittedly, this one was on sale, but it's rare to be able to find a functional katana that you can actually use, double pegged, nice fittings, that isn't going to break the bank, and that you're not going to be afraid to use. And this is a big point with most katanas out there. If you go over the top, buy something really expensive, you become very selective on how you use it, if at all. Where these swords, they're made to be used. They're made to be broken down. They're made for you to learn about your swordsmanship if that's what you want. So there we go, guys. I will put up all the different stats, different things like that towards the end there, and I hope you really enjoyed this. Stay tuned. I think I've got a couple of EITOs coming up in the next review, and maybe some handle wrapping as well. So I hope you enjoyed it. Jkoo Sinoswords, guys. It's worth a look. Get in contact, do your homework, send your emails, get your pictures, and look, if you've got a complaint, handle it well, handle it politely, and you may have a really good outcome like this. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching and appreciate it. See you again soon.